You ready? You can't change other people. I have one mentor who says it this way: you can't fix anybody else, but what can you fix? You can't change other people, but you can change yourself. In all my leadership classes and my coaching, this comes up over and over and over. And some people think that you can't change other people, but you can if you'll change what first. And that's what I want to talk to y'all today about, is if you'll change, everything will change for you. I know it's a cliche quote that most of us have heard. If you'll change, then everything will change for you. But what we start with most of the time is trying to change everything else instead of what or who? Me. If you'll change, everything will change for you. I want to give you a couple of examples that really stand out to me. One of the first ones that it's actually what got me started in facilitating groups. Many people don't know this story that got me started a long time ago. And after sharing about my college, it really made me think about this, my college experience last week. And it got me thinking about this. There was a guy that I failed that first class with that failed also. His name was Matt. And then the next time we took that class, we saw each other again. And it's like misery loves company, right? Hey, I remember you from the last class. We're both redoing this class together. And I think it was statics and dynamics. And we got to know each other, and he knew that I was somebody that was trying to grow, but he invited me to a Bible study. I'd never been to one before. And I remember going to it. And man, when I went to this, seeing these group of guys really studying the Bible, changing, doing things like caring for one another, I'd taken lots of notes about what it might look like to live a life of faith and be a Christian man, but it was around other people doing it. And what started happening is I started changing. And the reason I'm bringing this story up is because most everybody that I start working with, they'll read a book, or I'll give them a book, and we're going through a book, and they'll be like, Brian, I want to give this book to this person. I want to give this book to this person. I want to give this book to this person. This person needs that book. You know the person I'm talking about. You need this book, right? Let me highlight some things and give it to you because you need to change. Your spouse, your relatives, your team, some of the people you work with, right? Like some of the people that you're volunteering with. Let me give this book to you. But that's not what happened. I went to the study and I began to change. And I want y'all to hear this. I hope you hear this. There was another group of guys that I hung out with in the gym. And they were the group of guys that I went and partied with. So the first time I went to this Bible study, I was like, hey, they asked me if I wanted to come back the next week. And I'm like, no, you probably don't want me to come back. Tonight's Wednesday night. Tomorrow's Thursday night. You know what happens on Thursday night down in Austin? Yes, it's college night. I'm going to be on 6th Street. You probably don't want me to come back next week. And it was the first time I felt grace, true grace in my life. When somebody looked at me and said, Bron, it doesn't matter what you're doing tomorrow. We still want you back. And I started coming, like I said, and my life started changing. And this group of guys that I hung out with and I was in the gym with, they saw me change. And remember, you can't change other people, but you can't change yourself. And for the first time ever, I got asked in the gym, hey, Bron, man, we really see what you're doing and you're changing and you're growing. Will you lead us in a Bible study? And I was like, you got the wrong person, right? Like, I was so scared because who am I to do this? But they saw a change that they wanted in me and asked me to help them change. Isn't that interesting? So if the book hasn't changed you first, it's not going to change anyone else. I say you need to live the book, and then people will want to read the book. You can't fix other people, but you can fix yourself. So if you'll change, everything will change for you. One of my favorite quotes, everybody's heard me say this, is people often want to change their conditions and circumstances, like all the things around them, but they are unwilling to change themselves. They therefore remain bound. I don't want you to remain bound. If you want things to change around you, if you want your team to change, look at yourself first. Who's the hardest person to lead? Me. And if you'll change, so here's a couple little tidbits that I'll give you as a leader. Here's what I hear often. Man, if they'll just listen to me. Well, listen. How do I take that statement and encourage you to change? How can I communicate differently so that they can hear me? If they'll just do what I tell them, how can I share what I want in a different way so they'll understand me? How about having boundary conversations? I got a text last night from a lady I coached. She saw me out at a restaurant, and she sent me a text, a long text, saying how much she appreciated the growth she had. She finally had some good boundary conversations with some close family that completely changed her entire situation. But who had to change? It was her on how to have boundaries with these people that she was around. And it changed them for the better and others for the better. So often it's a change in how we have. I work through a lot of middle management. Man, you just don't understand, Brian, what the company does, what the company does, what the company does. No, it's not what the company does. We all have choice. You are choosing to trade your time, your energy, and your talents to work for someone. And it's all choice. It's not them. You can change the way you have a conversation. You can influence people above you. So I really hope this resonates. And unfortunately, most of us don't change because we're like the dog on the nail. And many of you have heard this story, but I'm going to give it to you to finish out today. Don't be the dog on the nail. The dog on the nail is sitting there every 5 to 6 seconds next to his owner on the rocking chair. And this guy comes up and every 5 to 6 seconds, this dog is just moaning. The guy's, after a few minutes, the guy's like, "What's wrong with your dog?" The owner goes, "Well, he's laying on a nail." Just moaning. Every time he breathes, that nail's poking that belly. Don't be like that dog on the nail. The guy says, "Well, why didn't he just move?" And the old man, "Well, I guess it just doesn't hurt enough yet." Man, how often do we whine, we moan, we complain about our conditions and circumstances, the things around us, something hurting, but we don't change. If we'll change, then everything will change for us.